ಕ್ಷೇಮ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಹಾಲು.
Hey all, welcome to episode 9 of Ramayana with Anuja. Thank you so much for all the love and support. Please do continue to watch. In the previous episode, I told you all about Hanuman's beautiful leap of faith across the sea. He made it to Lanka, he found out the whereabouts of Sita, he actually managed to talk with her, reassure her, and he left a very strong message about what Lanka could expect in future as a consequence of Ravana's actions. Now he had made the leap back across the sea, and the Vanaras were so happy to see him. Angada and Jambavan and all of them, they embraced him and they made him tell everything that had happened, and he gave them a blow by blow account of his adventures. And there was a sense of jubilation because they had achieved the task given to them by Sugriva, and they were very happy that they would be returning with glad tidings for Rama. And there was a suggestion to somehow make an attempt to rescue Sita and take her back, but Jambavan said no, let us just follow orders, we'll do as we are told, let's get back and report to Rama and Sugriva. Now the Vanaras made their way across, they reached Prasravana, which is where Rama and Sugriva were, and it was a very joyous reunion. Rama was thrilled to hear the news and Sugriva was so proud of his Vanaras, and again Rama called Hanuman to his side, he embraced him, made him sit right next to him, and he made him repeat every word Sita had told him. He was very happy to hear that she was still well, but he was sorry to hear about the suffering that she was undergoing, and he was so proud of her courage to deal with all the stuff she was dealing with by herself, and he was determined to rescue her soon. Now the Vanara army as well as the Riksha army was all assembled, they were ready to move, but for a second Rama was scared, he was despondent, he was thinking, how am I supposed to cross the sea with this army? Will I be able to do what's needed of me? So he had this rare moment of doubt, and at that point it was his good friend Sugriva who comforted him. He said, don't worry, we will somehow find a way to get across the sea, I'm confident that we will succeed. And Rama then suddenly realized that it was the auspicious hour of Vijaya, and it was under the star of triumph called Uttara Falguna. So he decided that it would be a good time for the Vanara army to move. And so this huge exodus began, led by Rama and Lakshmana, and Hanuman insisted on carrying Rama on his shoulders, and Angada followed suit and he carried Lakshmana. Now this was a gesture of affection because the Vanaras were a proud race, and they did not normally do anything which they considered servile, I guess. So it was a matter of pride, and this was again a mark of how much love and respect they had for the princess of Ayodhya. Now another remarkable thing about the journey made by the Vanara army was that Rama was very particular about discipline and decorum. He made it very clear that they shouldn't raid and ransack the little hamlets they crossed, and he also said they shouldn't remove all the fruits from the trees, empty the wells, things like that. Now the great generals of the age whom we know, like Julius Caesar or Alexander the Great, Napoleon, they left a trail of destruction in their wake, whereas Rama was very different. He made sure that any place he went to, it became more beautiful simply by his presence in it, and by enforcing little niceties like this which so many people don't do. Again, it was a mark of what a great leader he was and why the people loved him so much. And so the Vanaras made this journey all the way to Mount Mahendra, which was the point where Hanuman made the leap across the sea to Lanka. And now there was this formidable barrier separating Rama from Sita. He saw that big, vast expanse of water, and he paused for a minute. He took a few deep breaths, and he spread some darba grass. He settled down on it, and he began propitiating Varuna, the god of the waters, and he spent 3 days meditating on his name. And on the 4th day, he noticed that Varuna had not acceded to his request to grant him passage, and suddenly it was a different Rama who got to his feet. Rama got to his feet, and he said, Lakshmana, this is what happens when you're polite and nice and mild. People mistake it as a sign of weakness. It's the same for the gods. Varuna is arrogant. He has no compassion for the cause we have undertaken. He will not respond to my niceness. Now I will make him respond to my rage. When Rama lost his temper, there was a subtle shift in the very atmosphere. Even the elements became a little nervous, I guess, about what was going to happen. And he picked up his bow. He took the classic archer stance, and faster than the eye could follow, he started releasing arrow upon arrow. And he told Lakshmana, watch this. I am going to use my astras to drain the sea. And the Vanaras were terrified. They just scattered and started running in all directions because they had not seen their prince, their sweet friendly prince, get this angry. Even Lakshmana was terrified, and he threw himself at Rama's feet and he begged him to stop. He said, please, please control your temper, we can figure this out. But Rama was simply not in the mood to listen. And he continued to release these arrows, and suddenly he released the Brahmastra, a weapon of such great potential for destruction. And immediately Varuna came to the surface and he stood trembling before Rama, and he joined his palms together and he beseeched him to stop. He said, Rama, I meant absolutely no disrespect. Even fate or the will of the gods cannot alter the nature of the elements. I really cannot part the sea for you, but I will tell you what I will do. He pointed to a Vanara named Nala. He said Nala has the blood of Vishwakarma in his veins. Vishwakarma was the celestial architect, and he said Nala would be capable of building a beautiful causeway across the sea, a bridge. I will support this bridge, and I will make sure that none of the inhabitants of the sea hurt you or the Vanaras. And this was something, this was the best he could do. And Rama acknowledged this very graciously, but he said, I've released the Brahmastra and it must claim a victim. Tell me, Varuna, where should I direct it? And Varuna thought about it very carefully, and then he said, okay, listen, north of here there's a tribe called the Abhiras. They are people filled with hate and anger, and they inflict violence on everyone around them, and then they cleanse their sins in Dhrumakalya, which is a manifestation of Varuna. And he said they cleanse themselves there, and the waters have dried up because they simply cannot bear the burden of sin. Let your Brahmastra claim them. And so Rama released it, and the Abhiras were completely vanquished, and Dhrumakalya flowed again. There was rich sweet water, and it is now a sacred tirtha. That was nice because Rama's anger was allowed to dissipate, and slowly, under the supervision of Nala, they started building this fantastic bridge. They say that the Vanaras used boulders, and they also uprooted trees, and they fashioned this architectural marvel which stretched from shore to shore, and it was a remarkable feat, and the Vanaras were dancing on the bridge in celebration when it was completed, and once more they could resume their journey. And Hanuman picked up Rama, Angada picked up Lakshmana, and they started making their way across the bridge. Now meanwhile, news of this bridge had reached Ravana, and he immediately summoned his ministers. Now there were lots of evil omens seen in Lanka ever since Hanuman's visit, and of course he burnt Lanka as well. So far Lanka had been absolutely invincible. Even the gods had not dared set foot in there, and so everyone wanted to talk about this. And Ravana, at this point, he wanted to address some of his concerns with the ministers. Now Prahastya was his general, and he had just lost his son Jambumali when Hanuman had attacked all the guards at Ashokavana, and he wanted revenge. He said, why should we be scared of these stupid monkeys? They are just tree dwellers, and we are the Rakshasas, we are far superior to them. And he pointed out to Ravana about his victory against Varuna. He said, so what if they built a stupid bridge? You captured Varuna's city of Bhogavati, which is at the bottom of the sea. That's an even greater achievement. And then he pointed to Indrajit, Ravana's great son. He said, this is the greatest warrior the world has seen, not Rama the way those rumor mongers are saying. Indrajit actually defeated Indra, and he brought Indra to Lanka in chains. His name was Meghanada, but after defeating Indra in this fashion, he got the name Indrajit. And Prahastya reminded Ravana of that. He said, will anyone dare attack Lanka when you have such a formidable warrior like Indrajit? Ravana was very, very heartened to hear this, and then his brother Kumbhakarna spoke up. Kumbhakarna was Ravana's younger brother, and he had prodigious strength. He was a giant. But the thing about Kumbhakarna was he was actually a very, very nice person. Kumbhakarna was afraid of no one in the three worlds, and that included his brother. He was not at all afraid to call a spade a spade. Unlike the others who were singing Ravana's praises, Kumbhakarna pointed out that what Ravana had done was wrong. He was the only one who dared speak like that to Ravana, and Ravana immediately defended himself. He said, I didn't do anything wrong. He told Kumbhakarna that Surpanaka's nose and ears had been hacked off by Lakshmana, and of course they had to get their revenge. And for that again, Kumbhakarna pointed out that he should have dealt with Rama man to man instead of sneakily carrying away his wife. And Kumbhakarna also said, you acted on your own without consulting your ministers or us. That wasn't correct. Okay. And Ravana immediately became sulky when Kumbhakarna criticized him. And Kumbhakarna, for all his obedience to Dharma, he loved his brother even more, and he could not bear to see Ravana upset. So Kumbhakarna said, whether I agree with you or not, whether what you do is right or wrong, my place is by your side. I am your younger brother. In good times and bad, I will stand by your side. I will fight your enemies. I will destroy the lot of them. And as soon as Kumbhakarna said this, they all started cheering, and Indrajit, was so proud of his uncle. He was thumping his chest. So it was a whole macho display. While the entire council of ministers were cheering, Vibhishana alone remained silent, and then he got to his feet and very fearlessly he addressed all of them. He said, what all of you are doing is just encouraging my brother to compound his folly, and Lanka is going to pay the price. I love this land, we all do. We should act in the best interests of Lanka, and that cannot happen because he has gone away from the path of Dharma. He's gone and kidnapped another man's wife. They fight for a righteous cause. We will be defeated. And immediately there was angry murmuring in the Sabha. But Vibhishana wouldn't back off. He turned to Kumbhakarna and he said, see, what you're doing right now is wrong. You're only encouraging him. You know what he's doing is wrong, but you offer to support him. Then why would Ravana back off? Why would he refuse to do the right thing, which is to return Sita to Rama and apologize? So he said, you're also abetting this crime. And then he turned to the others. He said, we should do the right thing. And immediately Indrajit got to his feet, and he started arguing with Vibhishana. And Ravana immediately said, let's take a break. We will think about it, and then we will discuss it tomorrow in the People's Sabha. And Ravana broke up the assembly. Vibhishana stayed behind to have a word in private with his brother, and he told him, Ravana, you've seen all the evil omens in Lanka. You saw what a single Vanara did. And then he reminded Ravana of one more incident from Ravana's past. Now, as I've already told you, Ravana was a devotee of Shiva, and he had gone to Mount Kailasha hoping for a glimpse of Shiva and Shakti's newborn baby Kartikeya. He'd gone there for a glimpse, and his passage was barred by Nandi. And Nandi told him, no, it's a private moment for this family, you're not welcome. And immediately Ravana tried to force his way past, and Nandi would have cursed him. He said, Nandi had taken the form of a monkey at that time to bar passage to Ravana, and he said, an army of individuals in this same appearance, they will bring about your downfall. And Vibhishana pointed this out to Ravana. He said, this army of Vanaras is at your door, this is a warning to you. Do the right thing, please don't go ahead with this horrible, horrible war. And Ravana got angry, but he said, I told you, we will talk about it tomorrow. You've said your piece, please leave. And he made Vibhishana leave. And the next day, he went to the People's Council, where the commoners could come and talk to their king. It was worth mentioning that Ravana was a very, very good king. Say what you want about him, but he was good to the people of Lanka, and he was not one of those kings who hoarded all the treasure and left his people to suffer. He shared his wealth with all of them. He was very generous. He was famous for his munificence, and they all enjoyed the treasures he had heaped up and accumulated in Lanka. So they loved him very much, and they cheered him and Kumbhakarna, whom they also loved, Indrajit, all their heroes, and the people were filled with love for them despite what had happened with the fire and everything. Nobody blamed Ravana. And once more in the people's council, they all said, we are the Rakshasas. The Rakshasa Dharma says you can snatch whatever you like using force of arms. So Ravana did not do anything wrong, and the people threw in their support with Ravana. They were also angered by Hanuman's actions. They said he's an arsonist, a petty arsonist who snuck in at night and who set fire to our homes. When you see it from their point of view, it is correct. He did do that. All these people, they threw in their vote with Ravana. Once more it was Vibhishana who stood up, and his was the lone opposing voice. And this time Indrajit lost his temper again, and he said, you're a coward, you want my father's throne. And Vibhishana, very gently, he told him, you're just a child. I think I know the world a little better than you. You shouldn't speak so disrespectfully to your elders. And Ravana immediately piped up. He said, no, my son is right. You do want my throne. You're jealous of me. You're a coward. Don't stay in front of me. Get lost from here before I have you killed. And they say, Vibhishana, one last time, he told his brother, don't doubt my love for you. I just love Dharma more. Now here all of us, we kind of sympathize with Kumbhakarna, because right or wrong, he was loyal to his brother, whereas Vibhishana is seen as a traitor by some. But we have to understand that Vibhishana was a character who answered to a higher code of conduct, and not many of us do that in this immoral world where we all are too lazy to do the right thing, right? So not something we can understand, but Vibhishana did do the right thing. And once more he told his brother, don't doubt my love, but I love Dharma more. And he left, and 4 good Rakshasas went with him. And they went and they threw themselves at Rama's feet and asked to be included in that army. Now the question arose as to whether Vibhishana and the others were spies, but Rama made it very clear that even if Ravana himself came and asked for a succor, he would offer it to him. So he said, everyone who comes asking me for my help, they are welcome here, and Vibhishana was included. Now war was inevitable on both sides, and there were a few last minute machinations from the side of the Rakshasas and Ravana. So Ravana first sent a spy named Shuka, and Shuka addressed Sugriva in the dead of the night. He said, Ravana has offered you, all the contents of his fabulous treasury. He will also let you have your pick of the most beautiful women in Lanka. You should just switch sides and swear allegiance to Ravana. And Sugriva was deeply offended because he loved Rama, and he called his Vanaras, exposed the spy, and they started beating him up. And Rama immediately came and said, the spy is just following his king's orders. We can't beat him up. Please release him. And then 4 more spies came, and they wanted to check the numbers and the strategic plans drawn up by the Vanaras. And once more they were caught out by Vibhishana, who proved his loyalty. He pointed them out. And this time also Rama said, why do you want to sneak around? If you want to know our strength of numbers, just go take a look. Go back and tell Ravana what you've seen, and tell him he does not have to resort to these underhanded tactics. We will win. We will prevail in this war. His days are numbered until he surrenders and returns what's mine. So these spies were also released, and Ravana was feeling very uneasy. He did not like all the evil omens he was seeing, and he decided, okay, I'm going to make one last attempt to make Sita marry me. And he hatched this really evil plot. He knew a sorcerer named Vidyutjiva, and he made him conjure up an illusion whereby Sita was presented with the decapitated head of Rama. And when she saw that, she was already weak because she wasn't eating much, and she really missed her husband, and she was tired of being tortured and tormented by her kidnapper. So she fainted away when she saw this sight, and at that moment Ravana received a summons from Prahastya saying the Vanara army had arrived at their door. So he had to leave at once, and immediately the illusion was shattered because his presence was needed. And there was a kind Rakshasi there named Sarama, and she said, "See Sita, it was just an illusion. It means he's, a little scared. Don't worry, your husband is here. He's come a long way for you. Victory is on your side." And Sita was thus consoled. And now on both sides, the great generals here, on Ravana's side, you have Indrajit and Prahastya and all of them. On Rama's side, Sugriva, Angada, Jambavan, Hanuman, these were the generals, and they all took up their positions, and all was set for the greatest battle the world had thus far seen. I will tell you all about it in the next episode. Until then, please do keep watching. Please hit like, share and subscribe to our channel, and stay safe.
ಕ್ಷೇಮ ಪ್ರೀತಿಯಿಂದ ಆರೋಗ್ಯ ಹಾಲು.